Hola mis amores, welcome to the Get Unstuck podcast, a show that teaches you how you can take control of your life so you can let go of the weight of disappointments and release the emotional baggage holding you hostage. I'm your host, Nori Pouncil. I got it from the Afro-Latina Get Unstuck coach, helping millennial women feeling stuck get out of their heads and overcome their paralysis by getting to know themselves. This is where you learn how to become the woman you want to be, so you can love yourself no matter what, confidently know exactly who you are, have full clarity on what you want, and fearlessly step into your purpose. In today's episode, I sat down with one of my favorite humans, my girl Kelly Augustine. Kelly's a 30-something bronxnite born and raised in New York City who loves to live life and shares her interests and experiences, mostly centered around her personal style with a focus on plus-size fashion, brown beauty, and cosmetics, and New York City lifestyle. Kelly and I met during our time at the Rochester Institute of Technology and have developed a beautiful, supportive friendship over the years. During this episode, we discussed the major transitions in Kelly's life over the past few years, including going through a separation in her marriage after a 10-year-long relationship, becoming single for the first time since she was 16 years old, and her decision to freeze her eggs. Let's get started. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
This is why I don't know bringing my friends on the podcast.
Oh wait, I got it to work.
Oh, look at you. I'm recording too, so I'm gonna release this as part of the episode.
Wow, you can tell people about my true self.
I mean, right now Kelly's having
a technical difficulty. I want to make sure I'm using the equipment the right
It's
way.
okay. It's okay if it's not working. It's
That's
fine. I'm not about to make you hold it. It's fine.
Okay.
I really wish y'all could see what's going on. I really wish I could see what's going on.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, bae.
When this episode airs, which it will be part of season 2 of the podcast, we would have recorded this conversation on Valentine's Day. So it's Valentine's Day and I'm spending it with my girl, Kelly.
Yes.
Kelly Augustine.
The MIA.
Yes.
We're in Miami.
Yes.
Not on the beach, but we did do some fancy stuff.
We did this one. What did we do today?
We went to the Versace Mansion
Ooh,
for lunch.
Yes.
And now we're going to a concert this evening.
I'm so excited.
We're having a good time. I'm just saying.
I know, it's great.
You wish you were here.
You really do wish you were here, but you're grateful that you're listening. So,
oh, I love that.
Either way, you're winning.
Yeah.
You're winning.
I love that. Good for you.
So in today's conversation, I am sitting down with my girl, Kelly Augustine. Kelly and I have been friends for a while and just been through a number of transitions over the past 2 years, 3 years.
This has been quite some time, I'll tell you that.
And I thought it would be neat to have her on the podcast and talk a little bit about what's been going on. And she obliged.
Yeah, I'm here.
So she's here.
I'm here always.
How are you?
I'm good.
How's your spirit?
Well, I feel like I love when you say that. How's your spirit? I feel like I'm good or like I'm fine is always the fallback answer. That's the safe answer that everyone always says.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I feel like I'm good and I'm fine is always like my go-to answer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's never actually how I'm feeling.
So how are you really feeling today?
How I'm really feeling today? I'm feeling very grateful.
Okay.
I actually am feeling very, very grateful. I was in the bathroom just now, just thinking about to be able to be like, you know what? I'm going to go to Miami for Valentine's Day just because is a blessing. And to be here with two of my best friends is like, oh, I know, so sappy. But it is, it's great. And I'm very happy. I'm very happy today. How's your spirit?
My spirit, it's good. Like I feel my spirit is light, is joyful.
Yes.
And is happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like being around people that I love and that love me and that love themselves a little bit more than they loved themselves yesterday makes me feel really, really full.
Yes.
So I like it.
Same.
Ooh.
I love that.
Yes.
We've had some soul searching conversations today already. So.
We have had.
Yeah, it's been a good day.
Which was like crazy.
It was a good day.
It was a good day. And we hope that if you are listening right now, it's also a good day for you.
Yeah, truly.
And that you're spending Valentine's Day, doing something that has to do with love, not just romantic love, but just love.
Mm-hmm. That is my sentiment for this year.
Really?
Is loving not only loving those around you, but loving yourself in whatever capacity that means to you.
What does it mean to you to love yourself? What does that look like?
Right now, loving myself really is just trying to take care of myself in ways that I see fit, like in the moment. So like last night I had this laundry list of things that I was going to do. It was midnight and I was like, I'm going to get all this done. I'm going to stay up until 5 o'clock and then I'm going to wake up at 9. And like 30 minutes later, I was asleep.
You were done.
Because I was like, you know what? I'm actually very tired and I need to go to bed. Those kinds of things. Being like, I'm dehydrated. Let me drink water. Oh, you know, like little things like that. And then big things like being like, I want to take a vacation in the middle of the week. Those kinds of things too.
So self-care, how do you feel about that word?
I think self-care is one of those like hot button hashtag Instagram things when you're taking in face value. But I really think that it's definitely something once you've tapped into what it actually means specific to you, it can be very powerful. So I actually talk about this on my Instagram, but self-care for me some days is literally just like not being around anyone for the day. Or, you know, like I said, like going on a vacation really quickly or like taking a break. And sometimes self-care is indulging in things and, you know, all kinds of stuff. But I think once you figure out what that means to you, it can definitely be something very powerful.
How do you figure it out?
I don't know. In the past 2 years have taken a lot, especially actually in the past year or so, I've spent a lot of time with myself and I'm a lot more self-aware than I used to be. And part of my self-awareness has been learning things like self-care. And in the moments when I'm my weakest, like what makes me feel better and like being very honest with myself about what actually feels good to me. Because I feel like what I thought felt good to me actually didn't.
Why is honesty with ourselves hard?
I think honesty with ourselves is hard because a lot of people have pain that they haven't really come to terms with. Oh man, this is going to go.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah, this is what we're doing. Okay. I think like we all have things that we don't want to come to terms with. And I feel like there are a lot of things that we're in denial about when it comes to ourselves. I mean, people don't like having a mirror lifted to themselves.
Ooh.
They don't. So yeah, I think it is really hard to be honest with yourselves. It's very easy to be honest with everyone else.
Of course.
And to tell people about their BS, but to actually look at your BS is not fun.
Oh, I hate it.
I hate it so much.
It's like the worst, but the best at the same time.
Yes.
Right?
Actually, you said something really important earlier. We were in here talking earlier, and I think you said something really important about, actually, do you remember what you said? It was something about like facing your stuff.
Yeah. It was something on the lines of like, we struggle to face ourselves because we don't like what we see when we see ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we think we're supposed to have it together. We think we're supposed to be something and have something.
Yeah.
But we don't. And then we feel like we messed up somewhere in the process for not having that.
Yeah. I think becoming comfortable with being wrong. That was a really big thing for me in 2018, was like being comfortable with being wrong. It helped me process so many things. My relationship with my mom, my relationship with my friends, my relationship with my ex-husband, like those, it just helped me with so many things. And even when it comes to work, like sometimes I'm going to fail and that's cool. Coming to terms with that stuff really helps you move forward with a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about transitions.
Let's talk about transitions.
Where do you want to start?
I don't care, girl. You're gonna do it however you want to do it anyway.
No. I want to make sure you're good.
I'm
with,
good.
With whatever direction we go.
I'm straight.
Okay. So, what was your biggest transition in the past? I know you had a couple. So,
I think the biggest transition for me was going through a separation from my marriage. We still, to this day, haven't officially filed for divorce, but we separated in October, November of 2017. And we were together since college. So it was almost 10 years. And it was huge. It was huge in that it was a decision that was mostly made by me. And, you know, I moved out and I moved back to New York, and we were living in New Jersey. I moved back to New York and I hadn't been alone. And I realized in the time that I was spending alone with myself in 2018, I hadn't been alone since I was 16.
Wow.
I haven't been single since I was a teenager. And
why do you think that is?
I really think, I hate to say that it's daddy issues, but I kind of feel like it is, where it's like I didn't know how to function without being loved by someone, or like I'm constantly seeking that love and that connection with someone. And I think I also, to be quite honest, I have a very magnetic personality, and I feel like it's very easy for me to find someone to entertain me. It may not be the right person for me, but it happens. So, you know, it's pretty easy for me to find someone to be around me if I want someone to be around me. So it just happened that way, really.
10 years.
10 years.
How does one walk away from 10 years?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And as it was happening, even after I moved out, like I still was questioning whether it was the right decision. Even up until recently, you know, I was just like, did I make the right decision? Was this something that I could have worked through to make work? But I don't think so. I think it took a lot for me to realize, like, this was not the person that I don't know. People grow apart. And we also met when we were really young. And you are a different person when you are 19 and 20 than you are when you're 30, 31. And we had grown into two very different people, and we communicated differently than we used to. And, you know, we learned things, and we just grew differently. And I think that I came to terms with it after, you know, we had tried therapy, and I just realized, like, I don't know if this is who I'm supposed to be with. But part of learning that I am wrong was learning, like, okay, this wasn't his fault. And I feel like in divorce, people always place blame on the other person, especially where we're doing like an irreconcilable differences kind of thing, where it's like no one was being abused or cheated on or anything like that. We just don't work. And I think in that case, there's no real like tangible reason why you should be doing this. And so you try to find someone somewhere to blame. And I realized like it wasn't just him. It was me too.
What was that like? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm really interested in knowing, what was it like for you to realize that, oh my God, like the divorce was also like on me?
It took a lot of talking to myself. And realizing like, yo, like you have your stuff that you need to unpack. And, you know, I really just would sit and like replay different things that had happened in my mind, and realizing like, okay, had I done this differently, had he had done this differently, we still probably would have ended up where we did. But, you know, it's like people are people, and people make mistakes, and things are different in your mind than they are in actuality. And trying to place blame on one another, there's the truth and there's both of our sides to it, you know? And I realized like we both just were seeing things very differently. The same situation that was happening, we both were seeing it completely differently. And I realized in therapy, like we were saying the same things, but in different ways. I mean, we were just very different.
When did you know it was time? Like, when did you realize that, man?
We were both just very uncomfortable at home. And no one wants to be uncomfortable at home.
Right.
I think that was the moment when like, I was doing everything in my power to not be home. And he was too. Like we both were coming home really late, and, you know, he was working, but I mean, I don't know if he actually will ever hear this one, but I feel like, you know, he was working, but I feel like there were times where like he was working longer than he could have. And the same with me. Like I was just out. Like I would find reasons to be out. Like, oh, I was going to this event for work, or, you know, whatever it was. And like when we were home, we weren't talking. We weren't talking. Like, I would be on the computer, he would be watching TV. Like, he would have headphones on, I would have headphones. You know, like and one of the things that I would constantly say in therapy is like, I feel like we're roommates. We're not partners. It didn't feel like I had a spouse. I felt like I had a roommate. And no, that's not fun. I don't know anyone that wants to do that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So.
And marriage is hard.
Marriage is hard, and both people really have to show up for it. And you have to work on it. And marriage is a choice. Loving someone is a choice. I always say this, like, loving someone is a choice, and being part of a relationship is a choice. And you wake up every day with the intention of loving someone. You can just wake up. You can still be married, but
I agree with you.
If you wake up and you're just kind of like, I don't want to do this today.
I agree with you, because there are people that been married for like 20 years.
Yeah, but you're not really married. That's not really your husband.
You don't know them.
You don't know that person. You're in bed with a complete stranger because you are not waking up with the intention of loving that person.
Especially because once you make the decision that you're going to love someone, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you do to ensure that comes to life, that you are loving them, that you are available to them, that you are caring for them, that you are accepting them and surrendering to who they are, so that y'all can get on the same page about what is the identity of your marriage as a unit. Right. And it's hard.
It is hard. And I think that was one of the things that we were struggling with, is like, I felt like I didn't know him. And there were a lot of things that were slowly coming out that I was just like, wait, what? When did you do this? Like, when did you have time to do that? Like, it was so many things that I was just like, whoa. Like, and as I started to pull myself away from it, you know, more of the things that he was struggling with came out. And I started realizing, like, man, my husband's really sad.
Wow.
And he was going through a lot that I just didn't know. And like, I would ask him, like, how's your day? Like, how was work? Blah, blah, blah. And he just wouldn't really tell me anything. And it wasn't until I started being like, this is over. That stuff just started coming out, and he started having conversations with his family about certain things that he wasn't talking about. And just like, it was so much going on that I didn't know. And I felt really bad, and not in a way that I failed my husband. I mean, like, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know it was as bad for him as it was.
Were you available for that? Were you available to know?
No. And that was part of where I messed up. Is like, I was so busy with work, and then, you know, I had my blog was my side job at the time. I wasn't available for it. And it was the same with me. It was like, there were things that I needed that, you know, I just was like, well, he should know this because we've been together so long. He should know that I need this. And
let's talk about that. Let's talk about this. He should know, he should have it. Why I gotta keep repeating myself. Cause I think I hear a lot of people in a relationship, not just wives, but just people saying that, speaking with that language. Like, how toxic do you think that is?
I think it ruins relationships. It's like, because people change so much, people literally, you're evolving every day. So no, I'm not going to know that you need something, or maybe that one thing that you needed 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago is not going to be the same thing that you need today. And I can't read your mind.
And we also change our minds all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's really unfair to be upset with someone for something that you thought that they should know.
Right.
Because they can't know because you aren't telling them.
Yeah. You know, and I told you this, like, I really admire your resiliency and your strength through this process.
Thanks.
Not just as your friend, but just as someone that's married, and no one wants to be divorced. Like, no one gets
I didn't go into it thinking like I'm gonna get divorced. Yeah.
No one is like, yeah, I'm just here for like 2 years. Yeah. You know, like, no one does that. And the idea of divorce, how was it carrying that weight of that word and everything that he carries? Like,
it took me a long time. And I remember, like, a very specific time. I was with my mom, and we were going to a family meeting at my cousin's house, and no one really knew. And my cousin lives like 20 blocks from me. And so somehow, someone had mentioned that I lived back in the Bronx. And everyone at the meeting was kind of like, huh, why do you live in the Bronx? I thought you lived in New Jersey. And I eventually just ended up having to tell everyone, like, this is what's going on. This is why I moved. And I felt so much lighter. Right. And my mom specifically, she hugged me and just told me like she was so proud of me, because like I had told her straight up, like, I'm really scared to tell anyone. Like, I didn't want to tell anyone because I feel like being young and married to this engineer, this handsome engineer that you dated for 10 years in college, like it was this like perfect story. Mm-hmm. And to not have that anymore and to be divorced at 30 was like, and it was just, there's so much stigma behind the word divorce. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I always say is like, if I wrote a book, I would name it Divorce is Not a Dirty Word, because it's not. And I was treating it like it was for so long. Mm-hmm. And even when it comes to dating, like I don't want to be on my first date and be like, I'm a divorcee, let me, but it's like, I feel like it's really important to mention because it gives someone there's so many layers right. to it. And I feel like it's deep. And I think it says a lot about a person mm-hmm. who has come out of a divorce, like mostly unbroken. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't want to talk about it at first. I didn't want to tell my friends. I didn't want to tell anyone. I was just kind of sitting and stewing in my misery until I finally was like, I need help.
How long did you do that?
It was like a year.
Wow.
It was a year where I distracted myself with work for so long. Mm-hmm. And like, I wasn't seeing my friends. This year, I have never been so close to my friends because I just spend so much time with them now. And because like, I'm back in the Bronx and, all my friends live uptown and, people come over all the time and they're like, oh, I'm on my way home. I'm going to stop by. And, mm-hmm. I wasn't able to do that before. And, my friends they told me eventually, like they didn't feel even comfortable being like, I think my friends came to New Jersey like twice mm-hmm. and I was there for like 3 or 4 years. And
I never made it over there.
No one did. It was far and it was just like the vibe was we were kind of standoffish, mm-hmm. both of us. Mm-hmm. We didn't visit our families. We didn't have people visit us. My mom came to our house once, I think. Mm-hmm. It was bad. It was bad.
What is the one thing you are most grateful about from this part of your life, from this journey, this transition?
I'm actually very grateful that I went through this divorce in general, because I have learned so much about myself and I've learned so much about relationships and how I approach relationships and mm-hmm. how I would like to approach a relationship moving forward. Like I now know not everything needs to be said. Mm. You pick your battles, I think I know now what it means to actually support someone and be a good partner. And I've learned so much. And I'm very grateful that we were able to do just like I hate to say like a clean break, because I feel like that's very cold, mm-hmm. but I feel like we were able to kind of do this. Like we didn't have kids and we didn't have a house, we didn't have like assets and we didn't need to do lawyers and all this crazy stuff. We just kind of were signing off and being mm-hmm. done. Yeah.
What's one thing that you learned about Kelly about during this process that you're like, I had no idea this was a thing?
I learned that I'm high maintenance. Which, I used to, like, I know, y'all know, for those who know me, I'm very extra, but
you're fabulous.
I learned that is how I am. And I need to be with someone who who is accepting of how I am. Mm-hmm. And I felt like my ex-husband, do I call him my ex-husband? Because we're not really divorced. I don't know.
Why haven't you done that?
It's a whole like thing with New York where it's like you have to, I don't know. I had to have lived in New York for a year. One of us had to live in New York. Yeah. It was like a whole weird thing. But I realized like I am high maintenance and I am not going to like water myself down to make someone comfortable. And I felt like that was what I was doing.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I think I hear a lot of women talk about ego of their partners, and you gotta boost their ego, and you gotta feed their ego. Men need that. That's important. And as you're speaking and telling your story, you're like, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't have to do that.
Nope.
How did you come to this conclusion? What was it? What taught you that?
I had a very extra year last year. 2018, I was super extra. I did all of the things that I'd wanted to do. Not all of the things, but I did a lot of things that I wanted to do that I hadn't done before because like, oh, I was married and oh, my husband wouldn't like this and all that stuff. So I did a lot of the things that I wanted to do. And I realized like those things make me happy. And I'm not willing to give up the things that make me happy to make someone else happy. So I need to be with someone who is going to ride the extra wave with me. And be like, yes, I will take your picture, boo. And like, we're going on this yacht. Let's go to Dubai. Whatever it is. Like, I need someone who's riding with me, who understands how I am.
And accepts you.
And accepts me for who I am. And like, I have come to the point where I would like to do the same for someone else. And I feel like I wasn't doing that for my ex-husband. Like, when he would get angry, I would take it very personally, and I didn't realize like it was just, he was sad. And that was the only way that he knew how to show it. And I feel like a lot of people, their sadness manifests itself as anger. And that was the only way that he knew. And I didn't accept that about him. And I didn't take the time to be like, okay, like this is how he's feeling, and really hearing him out. So I think I'm at the point now where I'm like, when I go on dates, I'm like, I want to know like what kind of freaky stuff you into. What are your weird hobbies? Like what are the things that you like? What are your goals and those kinds of things? Because I'm like, I want to support you in whatever way I can, and just being more open minded than I used to be.
Absolutely. There's a few more transitions I want to talk about.
Sure.
So I kind of just want to ask you to share with the listeners, what is a piece of advice for a woman that might be feeling like you were and who's asking herself, damn, do I really want to do this? Should I really do this? Should I take this step? I'm not happy. Joy is no longer at the center of my life with this person, but I'm so afraid of the stigma around the word divorce. I was going to say the D word, but you know.
There's a lot of D words, so we have to be specific.
We grown around the word divorce and the backlash from family members and people being connected with the family of the spouse and each other. Like, what would you tell her about her situation, and kind of like what advice would you give her, or what feedback would you give her from your experience?
You know, I don't even think it's a woman specific thing.
Yeah.
I know guys who are in relationships too. And I think it's really what really propelled me forward was understanding like this is the rest of my life.
Ooh.
And this 32 years that I've been on this planet has gone by very, very quickly. And I'm just kind of like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life feeling like I did the last year that I was married. And so, you know, I was making pro and con lists and all this stuff, but ultimately it came down to how I was feeling. And like, would I be able to feel like that? I couldn't even see myself 2-3 years out of my marriage. I couldn't see us having kids in the environment that we were living in, that kind of thing. So I think really, really trust your gut, even if it feels like it is scary and it might not be the right decision. Really take some time to think about it, but you know if you're supposed to be somewhere or not. You know, and some people, it's really thinking about like, am I willing to do the work? For us, both of us, we were not showing up for therapy. Like we were there, but we were not opening up as much as we could have to the idea. We weren't being flexible enough. You know, we weren't putting in the work that we could have been putting in. So I would say really, you know, think about which direction you'd like to go in, and really stick with it. Stick with your instincts.
Awesome. You mentioned kids, and society tells us that by 30 our ovaries stop working.
Yeah, literally they disappear.
They're like, you're no longer able to procreate, to give
really
life,
terrible.
to bring life after 30. And being a new person, a new divorcee, so the term, or
I think so.
We will be right back after this brief message. Hola, mis amores. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Get Unstuck podcast. I love having these conversations because they help shed light on the issues many millennial women feeling stuck are struggling with on a daily basis as they look for ways to overcome their paralysis. Can you do me a favor? If you find this episode helpful, please leave me a review and tell me what connected with you about this conversation. It will help me bring you guests that you're going to love, and you may catch your thoughts during our fan love segment. Now back to the episode.
In your 30s, it's not something that by now we're supposed to have the kids already or be working on them. How are you dealing with that? Like, what's going on? How are you feeling?
It's terrifying, but I'm also processing that and being like, okay, do I even really want kids? Because the people that I don't have lots of friends with kids, but the friends that I do have kids, I look at them and I'm like, I don't really know if that's the type of lifestyle I'm trying to have. I think that, I would love to be a parent, and I think I'd be pretty good at it. And I think that I know that I would love to like nurture a child and, raise a child, but there's so many things. It's not like having a baby doll or something like that, So right now I'm just like, okay, well, maybe I should look at other options for that. So I did look into egg freezing. They approached me about it. Okay. It came up and I'm going through that process right now.
Tell us about that process.
So I did the hormone testing.
Okay.
The results came back and they're trying to figure out if they want to move forward. So it's for clarity, for clarification. I am working with a fertility clinic as a partnership for my blog.
Okay.
And we're now in the second step of like a long-term partnership, and they want to just really see if they want to move forward with it, but I think they will.
What is the process like? Because we've heard things about in vitro, the clinic you're talking about, and there's all these other things that apparently are options.
Right.
Like, what does the process look like? Have you gotten that far? Do you have a full understanding?
No, I don't. I actually don't have a full understanding of it, which is why I'm doing the partnership. There's a lot of questions that I have, and I know a lot of questions that a lot of women have. So I am learning just as much as anyone else is. The only part of the process I've done is gotten my hormone levels tested.
Okay.
And then I know like they have the studio that I'm working with, they have a nutritionist on site, because you do have to eat, I think they call it like fertile happy foods or something like that, like fertility foods.
What are those so that I can
right, like, all right. So we're not messing with those. It's a lot of, it's basically kind of like being on the keto diet. It's like rich fat. It's like healthy fats.
Okay.
Proteins, those kinds of things.
Oh man.
Berries.
I'm eating all that stuff.
Well, then it might be ripe for the picking. I don't know.
She plays too much.
So yeah, well, I'm going through that process now. I'm learning a lot of things, and we'll see.
Emotionally, how does it feel to you?
It's not really fun to come to the realization that you may have to freeze your eggs. It wasn't until the fertility studio reached out to me that I realized like, oh, I'm at that age where like I am supposed to have a partner, because biologically 32 is when the reserve starts dropping off. Damn. So by now, I should really be thinking about like, okay, it's possible. It's just a little bit more difficult to have kids after a while. So it hasn't been fun, but we here. We're doing it. It is what it is.
Okay. That means I still have like 1 year before.
Yeah, you have a year.
Before to decide.
You better.
Before society is like, it's done, girl.
It's not, you're not going to shrivel up. That's the thing. It starts to slowly deplete, I believe is what they told me. It's there. It just becomes a little harder.
What was it like telling your mom or like your family
about the fertility stuff? Yeah. I have not yet.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So
don't send them this episode.
I know. I'm like, let me make sure I don't put this in my newsletter because my mom is subscribed to it. So my mom is very religious.
Ooh.
And so I feel like this is like a little too sciencey, and I feel like she may think like, oh, it's not natural or whatever. So I haven't spoken to her yet, but it's definitely something where I'm kind of like, we might have to have this discussion, especially if I go through with the egg freezing. Like I have to tell her.
Yeah.
And I'm not excited for that conversation.
Would you consider, I don't know if you thought about it this far out, but like, would you consider just like a sperm bank situation, or would you be like, I'm just freezing my eggs, and then when future bae shows up, then we'll use them?
Sperm banks are very scary to me.
Yo.
You don't know what. I mean, I guess you don't know with a partner. You never actually really fully 100% know someone.
I agree.
Situation with B, and you know, you never know. You never know. Sperm bank, you know, like that to me is a little. I'm not interested in that. But I think I would be freezing them. Like, but I was like in high school and we were in history class, and someone had told me that like kids so disrespectful to me. But yeah, like that was for real, really, you know, eggs, and I gotta adopt a kid. That's cool with me too.
Okay.
I'm super cool with that. And I got so many questions and so many women telling me that they actually have already gone through parts of. So it's been a really, really nice opportunity for me to connect with people on another level.
And just really the transparency that you've used to handle the situation to get people
it as an option until they approach me with it. I wasn't even thinking about doing any kind of egg.
This is the first time that you were living by yourself
as
an adult?
First time I've lived alone.
I've never lived alone.
Like I literally had to call a TaskRabbit to hang my curtains because I like didn't know how to install the ladder that had 2 more steps. But I've also become like super independent and like, sure, because I'm a thug. That's why.
Like it couldn't wait.
No, it couldn't wait. Like I have to work and I need to feel comfortable in my home in order to work because I work from home. So I absolutely built with my bare hands.
Wow. That green couch was lovely. I loved it.
Thank you so much. Bigger couch because I have a lot of company. And I was like, I need something.
Married, like it could be a little lonely because you go from being your own person to having to think about someone.
Friends literally carried me on their backs in 2018. Like I still did feel very lonely because I work from home and like texting me like, are you good? You know, and at one point during our separation, my ex-husband actually mentioned that it was not fair, was actually alone. And I knew that. So it's very apparent. Like if you look at my Instagram, like my friends are literally my family.
These transitions in life, it could be really hard.
Yeah.
And even though you knowing that there are people that let you be.
Yeah. And they, you know, my friends were going through their own stuff too. And I was there for them just as much. For sure.
Those are the gems. Last transition.
Oh God, what?
And I think that's the thing about this transitions and these things that make us feel like last year.
Yes.
But first I want to talk about, what do you do?
What do I? Creative consultant at times. I haven't done it in a while. I'm a personal stylist sometimes.
Hashtag,
oh my God. It's going to happen soon, I promise. So by the time this goes up, the store is called August Ray, and it is a clothing and accessories shop. Right now it's online. It's not my last name, guys. It's my middle name. And my little brother's middle name was always so special to me, and it just really stuck with me. And so this is my baby, man.
And who is this brand for? Like
the vibe that I'm going for is kind of like casual. Wear it like as a duster. You can wear it as a cover up to the beach, and you know, things like that you can. So that's the vibe we're going for.
I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. And it's sizes 10, and designing anything right now, I don't think I will. I don't know yet. Like I cannot, like I announced it without feeling good about it. And like, it feels very natural to me.
We're in undergraduate school together.
Yes.
So a long time now. And yet you still stand, you're still resilient, you're still strong, you still push through it.
I think about my mom. She had me really early. She had me when she was 20. She had me when she was in college. I think about my mom, and like my mom didn't have those opportunities. So I'm going to do, like, I want to live my life to the fullest because I really know what it looks like to see someone not do it. We are so lucky and so blessed to live at a time where literally everything is at your fingertips. And because you can go buy microphones and equipment and have a podcast is readily in your reach.
You can walk on New York Fashion Week.
I've done that. Like I've manifested a lot of things that I didn't.
All this transition, you're processing your feelings, you're learning to hold.
I see my BS so easily, not BS a mile away, or where I'm doing something where I'm like, sis, you're bugging. I'm so more, as we were talking about earlier, like I'm a lot more present in my conversations with people and like career success. Like my relationships have flourished across the, like, it's really been incredible.
Wow.
As a woman now, can move forward and deal with this, and I'm just very proud. Yeah.
And I challenge the idea of perfection. I think you are too proud to know when it's time to reflect and to acknowledge, seeing every challenge and every transition and finding joy within it, to do that.
It does.
And it's not easy. And it's often rising from our ashes like the phoenix when we are rolling in the lake like the Lord, to go through this process, but also what it's like for Kelly to share that with others. And I've seen how powerful that
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Thing that was going to happen last year. I didn't know what was going to happen the year before that. I did not think 2 years ago I would be sitting with you in Miami, unknowing.
Wow. What is that like? What is it like to look at
for my outfits and our itinerary for this trip? Like, I'm that kind of person.
She put that on my calendar.
I definitely put this on my calendar. I've gotten super comfortable with like being like, okay, like I'm going to plan, but I know that planning literally does nothing. Like you can plan as much as you want, but you cannot control what's going to happen. So you can plan, that's cute, but we gotta be like, we gonna see. Let me tell you something, so it's fun.
You talk a lot about your trust in God and in the universe. Where do you find that courage to do that? Like how do you get yourself to understand or believe that God and the universe are on your side?
I think it really starts with understanding that nothing happens by mistake. And that was actually something that really powered me through 2018. It's like, these things, no matter how I would have shaken things out, I still would have landed where I am. Everything happens for a reason. So I think being grounded and actually watching my ex-husband doesn't really believe in anything. Having God and having the universe. I mean, some people think they're contradictory, but I don't. Having just something to believe in really, really, really grounded me. Listening to myself and my energies and paying attention to patterns and things like that, I started really tapping into something I wasn't really tapped into. And that also does come with a lot of reflection and paying attention to yourself and your surroundings. And it has not steered me wrong yet. A lot of the patterns, and I always talk about the angel numbers because we saw a number of them today already, and each of them have their own meanings. And around the time that August Ray like really started like pouring out of me, I was seeing 444 a lot. And I kept being like, what is that? And I was like, Jay-Z had an album 444. And then I started really thinking about Jay-Z and Beyonce actually, because 4 is huge for them. So I looked into it and I was like, oh, like it really is like the precipice of creation and like giving birth to ideas and conceptualizing and those kinds of things. And I was like, oh, this is dope. And it was the only thing that I had seen for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like I kept only catching 444, and then it was 111, 1111. And it happens a lot. And it was the same thing a couple weeks ago. I had a fallout with one of my best friends, and I kept breaking glasses. Like I was breaking things that I'm like, I didn't even touch that. How did that fall? And I just was like, what does this mean? And it was kind of the same thing. Like there's some kind of like, there's tumultuous, like the energy is just off. And it was. I haven't broken a thing since.
Wow.
Literally have not broken a thing since. And it had like, I was breaking glass, huge glasses every day. Like I would tap a glass in my kitchen and it would just shatter to pieces. And I'm like, what's going on? I believe in all that stuff.
Awesome. So I like the listeners to have some tactical tools that they can utilize as they get to know themselves. I feel that from the conversation that you and I are having, that a huge part of your success and your process in overcoming these transitions and coming victorious on the other side has a lot to do with you getting to know Kelly, getting to accept Kelly, getting to feel good about Kelly.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Kelly?
That's actually a harder question than I thought it was going to be. I feel good about Kelly. I feel like I'm just like in a really good place. And I know that there are things that I need to work on, like I mentioned before, but I feel like I have grown so much that I'm just happy to be here for real. Like, I'm just happy to be here. I mean, I'm just looking forward to seeing what my growth, where that takes me, because I just don't know. But I'm feeling really good about Kelly. Kelly's fun, man.
She is.
Kelly's fun, and Kelly's introspective right now, and Kelly's pushing. Like, I am pushing. I'm working really hard, but also learning to party is hard. Like, and by party, I don't mean party. I mean, like, like, have fun. I actually spoke with a medium. Well, she wasn't a medium. She's a healer or something like that. And she delivered a very specific message from my grandfather. And she used a nickname that only he called me as a kid. And I gave her none of this information. So I knew that she was not BSing me. And he told her that I need to calm down. And he said, when was the last time you went somewhere and didn't make it work? And like telling me to go back home, and home is St. Kitts. Those kinds of things. Yeah. Well, his family is from St. Kitts.
I've never known this.
Yeah.
Of course, every time I come on the podcast,
you learn something about
my friends. And I'm like, all these years, and I had no idea.
Yeah. So my grandfather's family is from St. Kitts. The rest of my family is from down south, but in the Geechee Islands, it's a whole thing. But just learning like to work and work-life balance and those kinds of things. And it's been great. I feel good about her.
I love it. What are some of the tangible things you've done to get to know Kelly better? What are some of the strategies or maybe tools you've utilized that maybe will help the listeners get to know themselves better too?
I wish I could be one of those people that's like, I meditate once a week or whatever it is. Or, I write in a journal, and I don't do any of that stuff. Like, I tried to do the journal, but I was writing it like I was writing a novel. So it wasn't authentic at all. And I think it is literally just the blogger in me. Like, I don't write, even like trying to naturally write. I couldn't do it. And so then I was like, I'm going to actually type my journal. Didn't do it. Tried to meditate. It didn't work. I actually did go into a really deep meditation when I did acupuncture like a month or so ago, but that was the first time in forever. It really was just like kind of isolating myself, I think was the most tangible thing. I isolated myself a lot, and like I just spent time with myself, and like I would really just sit and think about things that had happened, and like what is the lesson in that? And that's kind of how I approach life in general. Is like, what was the lesson in that? The crazy stuff that happened on New Year's, I was like, what was the lesson? What was I supposed to learn from that? And approaching my life that way has really, really helped me, because I once you look at everything as kind of a learning opportunity, it really does give you that. I can't even find the words for it, actually.
To me, it's almost like a freedom.
It is a freedom. It really, really is. Like thinking about my divorce, not as a failure, but as a lesson. And I tried to like really sit and parse out all of the things that I was supposed to learn from that. And even when it came to like, when it comes to divorce, thinking about your spouse as your enemy and just being like, what was I supposed to learn from him? Made it a lot easier. Like, we are not best friends, but we're at the least cordial. And we can have conversations, and, it's peace. And when I have failures, I don't think of them as failures. I think of them as lessons. Like, okay, that didn't work out. What was I supposed to get from that though? And we move forward. So maybe that is the most tangible thing. It's like, think of things as lessons, not as failures.
Wow.
Think of them as opportunities.
And I love that you also mentioned solitude, because with me moving to Florida from DC, and really just removing myself from distractions so that I can be able to see myself in this different light.
Right.
In a lot, it's hard to do that.
It is hard.
And if you work and you have, let's say you have kids, you have a partner, family, friends, and you got to manage all those relationships. And then you still have to have a relationship with yourself.
Right.
And I think I just in the last year or so is when I learned what it really means to have a relationship with you. I think we use that term very freely and loosely, but when you really get to it, very few people can break down what it means to have a relationship with you.
Right.
And I think a lot of us get the idea of like the bubble baths and the self. And I know I'm always talking about bubble baths on here and not being like,
yes.
I feel like I'm always throwing shade at them.
I love bubble baths.
I love them too, but I just want us to realize that there's more, right?
Yes.
So that there's the stuff, like having a relationship with yourself includes the stuff that you like and the stuff that you don't like. And it's about facing both of those with the same energy.
Keep that same energy.
And I think that's the part that the people get lost in. That's the part that I got lost in because I was like, well, I'm only supposed to care about the stuff that's good. Like, exercise and eat better and bubble bath and face mask and all this other stuff that's like, it just makes you feel good. But the stuff that doesn't make you feel good because it hurts. So in the moment, it doesn't make you feel good, but then later it makes you feel good. So that protecting that instant gratification need is something that I think we struggle a lot when it comes to building a relationship with ourselves because we're so busy trying to make ourselves feel good that we don't do the things that will eventually make us feel good or better and heal because they don't feel good in the beginning. Yeah. And they hurt a lot.
They do hurt a lot, but when I hear you say this, I'm thinking about my relationship with my mother. We had a very sordid past. Me and my mom never had a good relationship. And it wasn't until this year when I finally said, you know what, Mom? The way that you behaved with me was merely a function of what you knew. You can't and I was just like, I can't be mad at you for doing the things that you were doing because you were just doing what you knew. Something like that. My relationship with my mom is so painful. My mom almost didn't come to my wedding. That's the level we on. And once I was just like, you know what? I can't be mad at you for that because you're just a product of your environment. I cannot tell you how freeing that was. When me and my mom even start to have an argument now, I'm just kind of like, you know what? That's who you are. This is how I'm going to navigate your personality and we're going to move forward. And that's it. And that's how I approach my relationships too.
I love that. And it's so powerful. I always say you can only give what you have and people can only give you what they have.
Exactly.
And if they don't have it to give, then you ain't going to get it.
And it just is, that is what it is. And understanding that you're just not going to get it. That's fine. And I think that comes too with you're trying to change someone to fit into your idea of perfection. That person, if they're not willing to change, or, to do the work to fit into that mold, then it's just not going to work. It's just not going to be what you want it to be. And that's it.
What I love about your journey through these transitions, Kelly, is how at the core of it, your success is about changing your mindset.
That's all that this was. Point blank, period. That's all that this was. It was just me changing my mindset. Literally, you're so right. Yeah. All that it was just me putting things out into the universe. And that's why I say I very deeply believe in that stuff. Even when it comes to gossiping, I do it every once in a while. I ain't perfect. But when I find myself going into a deep hole where I'm just talking so much trash about someone, I pull myself out of it. That person has no effect on me. And me talking trash is just making me feel bad. They're not feeling it. They don't know what's going on, So, it really has been a full change in how I approach everything. And it really has helped.
How much more joy is in your life right now?
So much more. So much more. And even the times where I'm not super happy, I can still be but I'm grateful I'm here.
Yes.
And just being that sucked, but we here though.
We are. And
I just move forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
I realized in my life that we think we're supposed to have a role in the world. And that our role is supposed to look a certain way.
Right.
In order for it to work. But what I've gathered is that our role is just to be.
Right.
We can go as high or we can stay as low as we want to.
Right.
Either way, our role has been fulfilled.
I love that. And I think when it comes to everything, really, for me, it really has been okay, when it comes to work for example, when it comes to work, like I had lists of goals and this is what I want to do and this is what I want to do. And I was hitting goals and I still was feeling unfulfilled until I started being like, what actually makes me happy? And someone asked me that like 3 months ago and I didn't know. And it wasn't until I realized like, it's like, I like making people feel good and helping people like realize what can help them feel good. Like making people see things about themselves that they're not seeing. I realized like that's what would make me happy. And I thought about the times where I felt the happiest, and it was like when I was like interacting with people and helping people find clothes that they look and feel good in, and those kinds of things make me very happy. And I'm like, how can I do that? What can I do that will make me money, that will make me feel that way every day?
Yes.
And it was having a store.
I love it.
That's how we got to that.
That's how we got to that. And
here we are. So yeah, just like being yourself and really just allowing yourself. When you feel friction, that's how you know like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And you're constantly fighting with yourself and you're feeling like, oh, like I'm doing all of this and it's still not working. Why isn't it working? Because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. And you have to really, to the core of it, think about like, at the end of the day, like if I lost all my money today, like if I had all the money in the world, what would I be doing that would be making me happy?
Right. And then do that.
And do that thing.
All the time.
All the time.
And the crazy thing about that is that it's not going to make other people happy all the time.
And that's fine.
It's not supposed to. It's supposed to make you happy.
Right. Because at the end, you were born alone, you're going to die alone.
Hey.
Unless you die on the Titanic. And even then,
Wow.
Jack died by himself. You feel me?
He did.
Because Rose is selfish.
Clearly Kelly has some working out to do in this movie. She still hasn't got.
I just feel like Rose could have made some space for Jack on the door.
I feel like you always find a way to remind us of this.
Yeah, I'm just saying. She could have made space for my man. She could have made space for him. It wasn't right.
One question I ask all my guests is to share a tool that they have found indispensable for their self-care. What do you got for us, Kelly Augustine?
Ooh. Like an actual object?
A tool. You could be whatever you want. It could be an object.
For self-care, I think for me is realizing that I need it. Because there are a lot of times where like I'll run a bubble bath or whatever, like put on a face mask or whatever. And then I'm like, this is stupid. Or like I'll get in the bathtub and like bring my laptop with me and do work.
First of all, what?
Okay, that sounds very unsafe. And I want you guys to know that I have a stool, or like I'll bring a table in and work on the table. I don't put the actual laptop in my lap while I'm in the tub. Okay?
She literally heard that as soon as
I was saying it, I was like, ooh, that sounds crazy. But I think understanding like, okay, I think that I need to do work, but actually I just need to sit and watch Food Network or whatever it is, or whatever it is that you need to do to make yourself feel good. But realizing like, oh, this is the time. Now is it. And candles.
Good.
And candles. I love candles.
Yeah, you have some of them.
I have tons of candles. Like, get at me, bro. If you know anybody that works for Yankee Candle, Bed Bath and Beyond, like, come holler at me, because
that's your spot.
Your girl's a candle fiend.
She is.
Yeah.
Kelly, thank you so much.
I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me on this show.
Of course.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you, friend. Thank you for being here, for sharing your story. I think we never fully know the extent to which we impact the lives of other people. And sometimes we get a glimpse.
Yeah.
And I hope that this is a glimpse to you how much you've impacted my life. Oh, it's been amazing to have you
in so many ways. And you know that. You know that. We've cried a lot together.
We have. You've cleaned my closet. Thank you for doing
that. I cleaned your closet. Years ago, many years ago.
I needed that because what's crazy about clothing is that it's a manifestation of how we feel about ourselves.
It is.
And I don't mean it just in the fact that we wear things that don't make us feel good, but also like we hold on to things too long. Mm-hmm. And I remember you cleaning my closet when I was still living in New York City in the Bronx. So yeah, I know this was years ago because I haven't been in New York in a minute.
Yikes.
And Kelly was like, what is this? And it was this dress that I had since I was like in high school or something. And she's
Terrible.
like, sis, why do you still have this? And I'm like, well, I still fit it. She's like, that's not an excuse.
That's not what I asked you.
And I feel like a lot of us treat things in our lives like that.
Mm-hmm.
You only have it because it still fits.
Mm-hmm.
You only have it because you had it for a really long time.
Yep.
You only have it because it reminds you of a happy memory.
Mm-hmm.
You only have it because you're not ready to let it go because it costs you a lot to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how we are with life.
And then we got divorced. I mean, that's really what it is. It's like you hold on to things. And I find that when I do the closet audits, like, people don't realize, like, you're holding on to things like, oh, this is my gold weight pants or whatever it is. And it's like,
Sis,
how long have you had those pants?
Read me.
12 years. You're never going to do it. So go ahead, donate those pants. And when you actually get to that goal weight, then you know what? Then we can come back to that.
And the crazy thing is, when you do get the clothes that fit, you feel great.
You feel amazing. And then you can move through the day confidently and comfortably, and you can worry about so many other things.
Because you don't have to
Because you're not worried. Exactly. And you're not hiding behind your clothes. You don't, like, it's just, there's so much power in clothing, which is why I love fashion. I mean, people try to make it seem like it's just like this very like frivolous thing, but there's so much power in clothing that people don't realize.
Like you should come back and we can just talk about fashion.
We can.
In another episode, because we spent this one talking about transitions.
Yes, we did. And sorry, I feel like I've been talking a lot.
No, obviously you're a guest.
I know, like, this is actually what we're supposed to be doing.
Like, you good, sis.
You're good. Yeah, I have been talking a lot, and I feel like we could do this.
I know, forever, because we do it all the time. Sometimes you have like 3-hour-long conversations
without like even podcast, realizing like, oh, we've been talking for a long time.
Yeah, we gotta go do work now.
Yeah,
Kelly, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for the space you share with me, and I'm just grateful for you being available. I feel like in the last year you've become more available, even as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And when we met, I never imagined that this would be the nature of our relationship. I'm so grateful that it is.
I am too.
Any last words you want to live with the listeners? Where they can find you and all of that too.
You can find me at kellyaugustine.com, on Instagram at kellyaugustineb. I'm literally just Google Kelly Augustine.
Google me.
Google me, baby. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't gas me. Don't gas it up. Don't gas it up. Oh, you're making it hot. But truly, like, if you just Google Kelly Augustine, I'll pop up. And actually, there's now a very young woman in the Midwest, I believe, who is a singer. Her name is Kelly Augustine. She's awesome. Kelly, if you hear this, holla at me. Because I think she's really cool, actually. But yeah, just look me up. Kelly everywhere.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Love you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Get Unstuck podcast. I know you have endless options you can listen to while driving, working out, riding the train, or cooking your favorite meal. I truly appreciate that you've decided to spend your time with me. I hope today's conversation left you feeling a little less stuck and empowered to take action towards becoming the woman that you want to be. If you found today's episode helpful, please show us some love by leaving us a 5-star or 6-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Spotify, Stitcher, or Google Play. To get the show notes, head to IamHealthyFit.com and make sure you join the mailing list. You'll get access to a free training video to help you overcome your paralysis, get out of your head, and love yourself no matter what, starting today. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can find me on Instagram at Nori Pouncil. That's NORYPOUNCIL. Hasta luego.